So one of the more important things that I want to talk about today was something that's been brought up several times in the last few months, and importantly is that where is this point of recognizing value happening? How much do I have to put in? How long is it going to take me to recognize value with the Allotrope framework? And we realize that while there is a substantial benefit to moving in a semantic direction, there is benefit you can get from incremental gains, incremental steps before that. And this presentation is going to go into more detail for that. So one of the things is we first need to recognize that there are industry challenges. These are the things that any organization must acknowledge first before you can start to act on and make decisions. So we do know that there's misaligned vocabulary between groups, functions, and across an entire organization. It's inherent in just how the companies are built, and that's one of the things that needs to be overcome, as even stated by several of our newest partners. Those are the things that they're working on. We do recognize that there's a lack of fair data. There's been a push definitely in the last few years to move to data that is fair, so that you have ready access to it. I mean, it's in the findable, accessible, and retrievable. So it's there. Just how do you get there? So one of these challenges is that without having fair data, you don't have the interoperable ability across these instrument domains, the vendors, and you're spending upwards of 60 to 7% of a scientist's time just collating information, structuring it so that you can actually look into it, make assessments, and make decisions. So one of the other aspects of these industry challenge is the lack of standardized operations in areas such as the testing methods, verification methods, reporting, and also something as simple as instrument maintenance and calibration, which the sample prep team right now is actually working on, the sample prep working group. So one of the bases here is to align on vocabulary. And it's inevitable that a team needs to share this data across groups, functions, or if you put it in a data lake, it still needs to find a way out. And how would you know what to look for if you don't have a standardized ontology? Well, it's just going to take you a while. So the suggestion is align on a vocabulary first and a specific ontology. So there are over 200 relevant biomedical ontologies available publicly, OLS, BioPortal, OntoBe, things like that allow folks to easily access something in a public manner. We believe that there's value in choosing an ontology, and coincidentally, when we're talking about a roadmap to recognizing value, it is the lowest denominator. It's that foundational piece that you need to actually make additional decisions forward, moving forward to recognize additional value. So it's the upfront effort that's required. So we are, I'm fully supportive of the AFO, of course, not to toot my own horn for what we're doing, but we have established, especially with the ontologies and the recent updates to the ontologies and the models, we have a growing list that is a governed list as well for quality control. And one thing that it might be different about other organizations is that Allotrope does have 3 full-time staff across the spectrum of product, technical, and develop, so that we can better support these things. And we thank the foundation for their generosity in employing us, because we like what we do. Additionally, this is something that's based on industry standards. So we have the BFO and the OBO boundary. So we're, I can make a strong suggestion that you would align using the Allotrope vocabularies, but realizing that you might choose a different one, however, strong suggestion. All right, so you have the first step in your progress down at the bottom of the screen. So we'll continue with that progress and the different steps that decisions you need to make along the way. So you need to define your project goals. So if needed, consult with the product team, myself, Ben Wolferlim, or Amnon Pajak, and we can help you. One of the things we're trying to emphasize this quarter and moving forward is that you can reach out to us early on in your decisions and assessments of what you have, that we are willing to take time, and we're open to taking time to help you ask the right questions, and looking for the right information. So there's other things that we have available. So in the working groups, we have subject matter expertise, and you may need additional subject matter expertise in your given area for your company. So these are the things that you're going to be looking for as part of resourcing, defining your project. And then one of the things for proof of concept, really, you can go small or you can go big. There's a small for something, a small proof of concept with a single domain. And then there's, if you wanted to go something larger like the LCUV, a graph, a larger graph model, or production ready project, that's a larger scope. Just make sure you understand the resourcing that's going to be required for each one. And then it would be helpful, in your best interest, if you're going to consult with a vendor that's either instrument vendor for something you're working with, or a solutions vendor that can help you with the data mapping aspect ahead of time, or at this point when you're defining your projects. We have several of those of each variety in our partner network, which I'm very happy to say just you can go directly to our partner network. That's what they're there for. So your next step is to define your project goals. The next thing you're going to be working on is establishing and selecting a domain that you're going to cover. So in your project scope, you can define how large or small you want to do it, scope the project. The next step would really be how narrow you want to focus. We have some folks that are just doing MS. We have some that are just doing NMR. They're working on a specific area and to become very fluent with it and capable, and they can scale that from there. Additionally, we have a repository right now of projects. It might not be updated all the time by the individual companies. However, the product team is pretty knowledgeable about what's going on in the different groups, or if you need to contact other members or partners to understand what they might be working on, you have that open communication channel. So you're going to select your project domains at this point, and then you're understanding the resourcing needs. So one thing that we get asked often is, what do I need from an internal resource? It is helpful if you have a skilled engineer internally from a Java or a C# perspective, as well as some database management or management systems. That kind of background is very helpful. The product team, specifically Amnon, is working on this kind of roadmap. It's a blueprint, really, to how you would interact with your IT department to help them understand specifically your needs. That's one of the things we've been working on recently to help our community understand from a internal project perspective the items that you would need and help you better assess. Additionally, there's the external option where we have, as I mentioned before, the partner network with several folks that can meet the need that you're looking for, and you have that open channel to reach out to them. It's not that they need to advertise, they're there, they have this capability, and you'll know it by the folks that are interacting the most with the product in the working groups. If you need any help from us, from the product team, please let us know. We're agnostic. We don't have a favorite in the bunch, but we can direct you to the folks that we know that do this work. And that's the vendor, subject matter expert. So those are the things you're looking to need, plan ahead of time for the resourcing that you would need to execute on a project or a POC. And speaking of execution, so learning about this, the framework, using this available tutorials that we've been establishing in the last 6 months, particularly the last Allotrope Connect, and we'll have another one in about a week. So if you have any technical questions, you can reach us. We're here in that consulting aspect of just to help you. And then you can also learn from other members and partners' experiences. And specifically, the working groups are an area where open-ended questions can help. The group can help answer open-ended questions. If it's specifically technical or specifically related to a given area, we typically have teams or SMEs available for those. And if we don't, we'll help you find that. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. So upon completing the project, this is key. This is where you get to recognize this value. And one of the things that folks have been asking us, where do I recognize value? How does that matter? Well, at this point, being able to prove that you can go from an output of an instrument to an ADF file, that actually is the next step for what you're going to be doing to recognize value. So this is the foundation. This is where you get to achieve FAIR. This is where you get to then take this, and if someone asks you what you're doing, you are helping to better establish a foundation for future insight-driven decisions. So expanding on the implementations, you have the option at this point to choose another direction or expand. You could also reproduce it in a horizontal manner. You could also do it in a vertical manner. What I mean by that is you could go to another instrument, you could do another specific area or technique, or you could actually go in complexity, where you could increase the number of terms that you're using and that you're using to make to identify your output that is valuable to you and make decisions upon, and you would enhance that. So much like the largest graph that we have right now is the LCUV. So if you're looking for dense amount of information to make complex decisions, that would be where you would go next. And additionally, these are areas where you can also partner or collaborate with other member companies. There's been several in the past collaborations and community projects, and these are things that the members themselves specifically can work on and or work in partnership with the partner network. And request an instrument vendor to output ADF files. This is something if you have an interest in a specific instrument and output, you can always ask the vendor. They're looking for your input as a direction for their product as well, just as much as the Allotrope Foundation is. Expanding the scope of new areas and techniques. And this is what you would choose next. So where do you want to go next? So increasing the value vertically. These are the aligned to the standards of operation. I think I already went over this. Allotrope data models, enabling more techniques and methods. And then this is the key aspect here, which you'll see a couple other presentations discussed as well over the next webinars about the access to data analytics and just enabling this ability for data scientists, particularly with Python we have coming soon. But you also see on Paradigm 4s, they have the ability for Python and R. They'll be explaining that. If new models are needed, this is where the working groups come in. So we have a feedback session. In fact, we've been in the best shape we've been in the last year and a half since I've been here about planning ahead and taking stuff. We've already been working on new models for this coming quarter in the last few weeks, which is exciting. It means we're ahead of schedule and we're planning to continue that. And this is where you have this data analytics enablement that is lacking a challenge, I should say, in industry right now. So in the long-term impact perspective, these are the areas where you consider brainstorming, long-term vision for Allotrope Framework and the technologies, specifically semantic technology, the data warehousing aspect, data lakes, and knowledge graphs internally, which there are many third-party vendors for now that are working with knowledge graphs, particularly some certain partner company called Cambridge Semantics Cambridge Analytics that just got approved to work with the FDA. That's kind of important. And we have the AI aspect, and we have the end-to-end alignment through the discovery, which if you look some past Amgen examples, they've explained how this is possible. So you choose your long-term strategy and you have the ability to automate semantic integration.